செவெக்ஸ் மார்ட்டில் நீங்கள் விரும்பும் நேரத்தில் விரும்பும் பொருட்களை இலவச அனுப்பும் சேவை வாங்கி மகிழுங்கள். எங்களின் தரமான பொருட்களோடு உங்களுக்கு தேவையான பொருட்களின் பட்டியலை கொடுத்தால் மிக்க மகிழ்ச்சியுடன் அனுப்பி வைக்கிறோம். நலமான வாழ்விற்கு செவெக்ஸ் மார்ட்டில் பொருட்கள் வாங்கி மகிழுங்கள்.
Live a Smart Life series, episode 1. The mission of this series is to enlighten people on how to overcome health challenges in everyday life. In this series, experienced and renowned medical professionals will share their advice on various topics to help everyone lead a healthy life. In the first episode, Uncle Dr. Velayappan, fondly known as Dr. Vella, will be talking about neonatal jaundice. He was the pediatrician who helped during the delivery of my mom, that's me. Uncle Dr. Velayappan studied medicine at the University of Sydney in 1970 under Colombo Plan Scholarship and subsequently was trained at the Singapore General Hospital. He completed his Master of Medicine in Pediatrics in 1974 as well as obtained his fellowship in Royal Australian College of Pediatrics in 1978. He has done his postgraduate training at Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital in London on respiratory illnesses in 1980. He was a senior lecturer in the Department of Pediatrics in National University Hospital, Singapore. Subsequently, he entered private practice in 1982 and has become a familiar and beloved face to many patients through the decades. Dr. Vella Uncle practices general pediatrics as well as baby care. He does a lot of social service too. Right from my childhood till date, Uncle always encourages and motivates me in each and every activity I do. I would like to thank Dr. Vella Uncle very much for taking his time to give this speech. Let's hear from Dr. Vella Uncle now.
The topic we are discussing today is called neonatal jaundice. Neonatal means the first 28 days of life for the baby. So anything, the jaundice which occurs in the first 28 days of life is called neonatal jaundice, or in short NNJ. But this jaundice is different from jaundice where the adults get, It could be due to, adults jaundice can be due to inflammation of the liver, whereas the neonatal jaundice is different. It's quite common in babies, almost about 60 to 70% of babies get jaundice in the first 1 week of life, But jaundice usually is quite mild in most babies, and mild jaundice does not cause any problem to the babies. But if it is high jaundice, it can cause problems to the baby, especially to the brain, and can later on cause problem in the development of the child. That's why neonatal jaundice is important, but most of the time it's mild, so not to worry about it. Why do babies get jaundice? Why do babies within 28 days of life get jaundice? It's due to when they are born, their hemoglobin level is very, very high. That means the blood level is high. Normally for adults, it's about 12 grams. In the baby, when it's born, it's 18 to 20 grams. So it is high hemoglobin, high blood. So when the blood is broken down, a pigment called bilirubin is released, and this bilirubin is the one which causes jaundice. And also the baby's blood cells, they only survive for about 70 days, whereas the adult blood cells survive for 120 days. So the blood cells are destroyed within very early. So high hemoglobin and the blood cells being destroyed early contributes to the jaundice in newborns. So babies born prematurely, those babies born before 40 weeks of gestation, especially before 37 weeks, also the liver is immature. This bilirubin pigment is converted in the liver to a very normal pigment and excreted through the intestine. So the jaundice goes down. But the baby's liver is a little bit immature, so it cannot handle the big load of bilirubin. So the bilirubin is called unconjugated bilirubin. The bilirubin in the blood is bound to albumin. The bilirubin and albumin does not cause any damage to the brain, but If the bilirubin is not attached to the albumin, then it's called unconjugated, unbound bilirubin. This can cross to the blood-brain barrier and affect the brain. That's why jaundice in the neonatal period is important, especially when the jaundice is high. So what is the jaundice which is high? We look at the baby. Baby gets the jaundice usually around the third day of life. It's called physiological jaundice. As I told you, the liver is immature and the blood cells are destroyed faster, so there is more bilirubin, and the liver cannot handle the bilirubin. That's why the jaundice is seen. The jaundice, when you notice it, you first notice it in the eye when it's around 5 milligrams. And you'll notice it in the face, and then later in the chest and the limbs when the jaundice level goes to 10 milligrams and 12 milligrams. But jaundice level above 15 milligrams can be quite worrying. So it is important for us to assess the level of jaundice in the child. So how do we assess it? We usually press on the child's skin and blanch the skin to see what is the level of jaundice. So I told you, when it is 2 milligrams to 3 milligrams, we can see it in the eye, and around 10 milligrams we see it on the face and chest and all that. And if it moves to the limbs, it may be high. But this is only very, very gross. So how do we actually assess the jaundice level which is accurate? They do use a thing called transcutaneous bilirubinometer, where you just touch the skin and you can get a reading. But the better way is to do a heel prick blood test, which will tell us about the level of jaundice. So the level of jaundice will give us the guide to the management. Mild jaundice, we don't have to do anything. Those days, the old ladies will ask us, especially our grandma, will say, put the baby in the sun. So that is how we talk about phototherapy nowadays. The old wives' tale, there is some truth in it, but sunlight has got a big spectrum of this light, which is not so effective. But it was what the old grandmas did, and that gave us the scientific breakthrough for phototherapy. That is how we treat jaundice. If the level is a bit high, then we put them under light. So what the light does is to convert the pigment in the skin to not a harmful bilirubin, and is excreted through the intestine. But if it is high, I told you, it can affect the brain. That's why we have to bring down the bilirubin, and the jaundice level will drop. So how do we treat them? We treat them with phototherapy. Phototherapy is we shine light on the baby when the baby lies down under a cot and with the eyes covered with a pad, so that the eye is not damaged by the light. And it's a particular spectrum which treats this jaundice. It's a spectrum in the blue and the green light, about 450 nanomoles. That is the thing which is very, very effective. So we put the baby under the light, usually for 24 hours, and we feed them. That's how the jaundice is treated. Those days, before phototherapy was available, it was not invented yet. In the 1970s only the phototherapy came into being. Before that, if it is very, very high jaundice, we worry about affection of the brain. So we do exchange blood transfusion. So that means we take the baby's blood out with the jaundice and we introduce blood without the jaundice pigment. That's called exchange transfusion, and then we treat them that way. Nowadays, most babies with jaundice, they are detected early. They are kept, they come for well baby checkup, and we check the level of jaundice. So what is the cause of jaundice apart from physiological jaundice? I told you the hemoglobin level is high and the liver is immature. That is called physiological jaundice. But there are other causes for jaundice which may cause problem, especially if the jaundice appears in the first day of life. It is what is known as hemolytic jaundice. That means the blood cells are lysed very, very easily, and then the pigment comes up very fast and the liver cannot handle, and the jaundice can rise very fast and affect the baby. This is called hemolytic jaundice. Why does hemolytic jaundice occur? If there is a difference in blood group between the mother and the baby. If the mother is O, let's say, and the baby is either a blood group A or blood group B. So when the baby is inside, these blood cells from the baby cross to the mother. And the blood cells which are either A or B is something foreign to the mother who is a O blood group. So she produces antibodies in the IgM class and the IgG class. So the IgM antibodies do not cross back to the baby, but the IgG antibodies can cross back to the baby and destroy the blood cells which are A or B. So because the mother has produced an anti-A or anti-B antibody, and this crosses back and destroys the blood cells and causes jaundice. So this is the major blood group difference. The mother is O and the baby is A or B. This causes hemolytic jaundice. Hemolysis means destruction of the red blood cells earlier than normal. Then the other one, which used to be a very, very common, very, very serious problem, not common problem, serious problem, is the Rh blood group. That's the minor blood group where the mother is Rh negative and the baby is Rh positive. So the Rh positive cells cross to the mother and the mother produces antibodies to the Rh positive red blood cells, and these go and destroy the blood cells in the baby and causes severe jaundice. So Rh negative, but we have handled this by giving antibodies to the mother once the baby is born. The first baby is usually not a problem. It's the subsequent babies of the Rh negative mother who gets serious jaundice. So now we have got anti-Rh antibodies we give to the mother as soon as the first baby is born, called Rogram injection, and the subsequent babies don't have Rh problem at all, even though the baby is Rh positive and the mother is Rh negative. So we have prevented it. So Rh problem we seldom see now because of prevention. Then the other cause of hemolysis, the major blood group incompatibility is one, ABO blood group, then Rh blood group. There are other very, very minor blood group, Kelly, this sort of thing, but that is not very, very common. But the other cause of hemolysis, especially in the Asian countries, is an enzyme deficiency called G6PD deficiency. This is a sex-linked recessive condition which usually affects boys. The mother is a carrier and the baby boy, because it's sex-linked recessive, is affected. G6PD deficiency. G6PD stands for glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. So this is an enzyme which is found in red blood cells, and this enzyme is very, very important for the stability of the red blood cells. If there is deficiency of the G6PD enzyme, the red blood cells can lyse very easily and release the pigment, the bilirubin, causing jaundice. And it can be triggered by certain medicines like aspirin and all that, or mothballs. We keep our baby's clothes in mothballs, and these mothballs can trigger off a hemolysis. These are what we call triggers for children with G6PD deficiency. Those days, in Singapore, we had, G6PD deficiency, and this screening of this enzyme only came about 40 to 50 years ago. Before that, we had a lot of babies dying from severe jaundice. Severe jaundice is called kernicterus. That means if the level of the serum bilirubin rises above 20 milligrams, it can cross the blood-brain barrier and affect the basal ganglia in the brain, causing a condition called kernicterus. That means babies can die from kernicterus. One of the commonest causes of death 50 years ago in Singapore was G6PD deficiency. My professor, Professor Ong Hock Boon, discovered this, and he made sure that babies born in the hospitals, especially those days we had this, in Singapore, all babies were born in Kandang Kerbau Maternity Hospital, where almost 50,000 babies were born per year. And every baby born screened for G6PD deficiency. Any baby who is found to be G6PD deficient was kept in the hospital for 3 weeks so that they are not exposed to things like mothballs or traditional medicines which may trigger off hemolysis of the red blood cells. They kept and made sure the jaundice was not there. If the jaundice rises, and then we did exchange blood transfusion. Nowadays we put them under phototherapy. So G6PD deficiency, another cause for jaundice in the neonatal period. So I talked about ABO incompatibility, RH incompatibility, and this G6PD deficiency. In other places there are another, when the red blood cells are usually they are biconcave, but when they are, the red blood cells are round, called hereditary spherocytosis, that also can cause jaundice, hemolytic jaundice, but this is rare compared to G6PD deficiency in the Asian African children. Then what are the other causes of jaundice apart from physiological jaundice, hemolytic jaundice? Sometimes some babies may have infection, especially urinary tract infection or some form of infection in the blood. This also can cause jaundice. Then another cause of jaundice is congenital hypothyroidism, especially prolonged jaundice. If the jaundice is not going away and the jaundice lasts more than 3 weeks, it's called prolonged neonatal jaundice. So apart from the neonatal period, the first 28 days of life, this jaundice lasts 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks sort of thing. So congenital hypothyroidism is another cause of prolonged jaundice. Another common cause of prolonged neonatal jaundice means jaundice beyond 3 weeks, and this can be due to breast milk jaundice. There is some substance in the blood, nothing toxic, but it may cause with interference of the jaundice pigment being excreted, so the children get jaundice. But this jaundice is not unconjugated. It's normal jaundice which doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. So prolonged jaundice due to breast milk does not affect the baby. So we must make sure, we must exclude other causes of prolonged jaundice, and we can treat them. They can still continue to breastfeed. We just have to wait it out and the jaundice goes down by itself. But if the jaundice is prolonged, there is one condition we must always be very, very wary of, a condition known as biliary atresia. That means the bile ducts, which excrete the bilirubin pigment are not present in the baby. This is a condition known as biliary atresia, where the jaundice is conjugated. That means the liver cannot handle the thing because of this blockage of this thing. They cannot take care of the bilirubin, and this bilirubin can be toxic to the liver, and the liver undergoes inflammation and cirrhosis and liver failure. So this biliary atresia condition must be detected early so that we can do surgery, a Kasai operation, which can cause, which can make them better. So it must be detected early. If not, the liver fails, then it's too late. So within the first 2 to 3 months of life, you must be able to diagnose biliary atresia and treat it accordingly. So these are things we have to take care of about jaundice. Jaundice is common. It's physiological jaundice most of the time. It doesn't cause problems to the baby. But when the jaundice level goes high, it can affect the baby. The baby doesn't feed well, and sometimes they get seizures and they can die, or they get a condition known as kernicterus, which later on the development they get a condition known as chorioathetoid cerebral palsy, and hearing is also affected in children with kernicterus. So we have to recognize these problems and treat them accordingly. Hiranya has been my patient since she was young. I don't think she had jaundice, but she come for other minor problems. But she has been my favorite patient, and I'm very happy to see that she's doing well in her studies and doing her medicine. She's an undergraduate in medicine, also excelling in computer studies as computer programs and as well as music. She's a very, very talented, and I really bless her for her future. And thank you all for listening.